Ricardo, a humble 58-year-old Mexican caretaker, saved $200,000 over 30 years for his daughter Amanda. She stole it all, spat in his face and yelled, "This money is mine, you poor old man." In front of the whole family in Guadalajara, she humiliated him mercilessly. But the ungrateful daughter didn't know that the ignorant old man harbors an explosive secret from the past, a revenge plan so perfect that it will make Amanda beg forgiveness on her knees. Justice will be served. Imagine spending 30 years of your life waking up at 4 a.m., cleaning bathrooms, scrubbing floors, being invisible to everyone. All for one single goal: to give your daughter a better life. Now imagine that this same daughter, the person you loved more than anything in this world, breaks into your bank account, steals your $200,000, every penny you sweated to save, and when you confront her, she looks you in the eye and screams, "That money is mine, you poor, useless old man." This is not a movie. This is not fiction. This is the true story of Ricardo Martinez, a humble caretaker from Guadalajara, Mexico, who was destroyed by his own daughter, but who harbored a secret so powerful, so impactful, that when the truth comes out, Amanda will regret every second of having humiliated the man who gave his life for her. Prepare your heart, because what you're about to hear is a story of betrayal, humiliation, and revenge, so perfectly orchestrated that it will leave you speechless. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And if you like stories of justice and revenge, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here we don't forgive ungrateful children. Ricardo Martinez woke up every day at 4 a.m. in his small two-room house in the Tlaquepaque neighborhood on the outskirts of Guadalajara. His 58 years weighed heavily on his stooped back, the result of 3 decades cleaning the marble floors of the Aqueducto Business Tower, one of the city's most luxurious commercial buildings. He was invisible. People passed by him every day, executives in expensive suits, businessmen with watches that cost more than their annual salary, and none of them even looked at his face. But Ricardo didn't care. Every scrub of the floor, every bathroom cleaned, every sacrificed night had a sacred purpose. His daughter, Amanda, she was everything to him. Ever since his wife, Sophia, died of cancer when Amanda was only 8 years old, Ricardo vowed to give the girl everything he never had: education, opportunities, a dignified life, and he kept his promise. While Amanda was growing up, Ricardo worked 3 jobs: janitor in the morning, security guard at night, and on weekends he did odd jobs as a bricklayer's assistant. He ate once a day to save money. He wore the same 3-patched shirts for years. He never bought a new pair of shoes. He repaired the holes with cardboard and glue. His entertainment? Non-existent. His vacations? He never took one. But Amanda studied at the best private schools in Guadalajara. She took English, piano, and dance lessons. She wore designer clothes while Ricardo wore rags. She ate at the most expensive restaurants while her father savored 10-peso tacos on the corner. At 18, Amanda entered Universidad Panamericana, one of the most prestigious universities in Mexico, studying business administration. Ricardo cried tears of joy on her graduation day. Throughout all these years, Ricardo did something Amanda never knew. He saved every extra penny he earned. He opened a secret savings account and month after month, year after year, deposited 500 pesos here, 1,000 pesos there. He sold plastic bottles he found in the trash. He repaired old electronic devices and resold them. He worked overtime whenever possible. In 30 years, through absolute sacrifice, Ricardo Martinez saved exactly $200,000 US, about 3.6 million Mexican pesos. It was a fortune for a man like him, and he had a plan. On his 60th birthday in 2 years, he would surprise Amanda. He would give her all that money so she could open her dream business, buy a house, and have financial security. It was meant to be the grand final gesture of love from a father who had given everything for his daughter. But fate had other plans. Amanda graduated, got a job at a digital marketing company, and slowly changed. Or maybe she had always been like that, and Ricardo, blinded by paternal love, never wanted to see it. She started visiting less. Then she stopped answering his calls. When Ricardo showed up at her modern apartment in Zapopan, Amanda made her discomfort clear, especially when there were friends around. "Dad, you can't just show up like this unexpectedly," she said, looking shyly at his calloused hands and simple clothes. Ricardo understood, or at least he tried to understand. She's building her life, he thought. It's normal to distance yourself a little. But then came the day that would change everything, a day that Ricardo Martinez would never ever forget. A question that generates anger. How is it possible for a daughter to be ashamed of her own father who sacrificed everything for her? Have you ever seen anything like this? Comment below. It was a rainy Tuesday in July when Ricardo received the call from the bank. He was in the middle of his shift, cleaning the bathroom on the 12th floor, when his old cell phone, a device with physical keys that he had had for 8 years, vibrated in his pocket. "Mr. Martinez, this is Banco Santander. We are calling to confirm an unusual transfer from your account." Ricardo's heart raced. "Transfer? I didn't make any transfer." "Sir, your savings account had a withdrawal of 198,452 hours ago. The remaining balance is 1,250. The world stopped. Ricardo felt his legs go weak. He dropped the mop he was holding and had to lean against the wall. "What? How? I didn't authorize any of this." The bank teller explained that the transfer was made online with the correct login and password, and that the money was sent to another account at the same bank. For security reasons, she couldn't give more details over the phone, but Ricardo needed to go to the branch immediately. Ricardo didn't even say goodbye at work. He took the bus, his hands trembling, cold sweat running down his forehead, and went straight to the bank. At the branch, after an hour of checks and procedures, the manager finally revealed the truth that broke Ricardo's heart. The money was transferred to an account in the name of Amanda Sofia Martinez Ruiz, your daughter. But how? Ricardo had never given his account password to anyone. Then he remembered. 3 months ago, Amanda had shown up at his house after weeks of silence. She was worried about her father living alone, said she wanted to help him organize his finances, and asked about bills and documents. Ricardo, touched by his daughter's supposed concern, had shown her his papers, his passwords written down in an old notebook. She had photographed everything. With his hands trembling with anger and despair, Ricardo called Amanda. She didn't answer. He called again, and again, and again, 12 unanswered calls. Then he took another bus and went straight to her apartment in Zapopan, a modern 2-bedroom apartment that, Ricardo now realized, was way too expensive for the salary of a junior marketing employee. When Amanda finally opened the door, Ricardo saw something he had never seen before on his daughter's face: absolute indifference. "Hi, Dad," she said casually, as if nothing had happened. "Amanda, the money, you took my money, all my money." Amanda sighed, as if annoyed. "That was your money? Seriously? Dad, I'm your only daughter. That money was rightfully mine. You were going to die and leave it to whom? The government?" Ricardo couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Amanda, this money, I saved it for 30 years of sacrifice. It was meant to be given to you as a gift, so you could start your business, buy a house. And that's exactly what I used it for." Amanda said coldly, crossing her arms. I invested in stocks, bought a new car. That old Civic was making me ashamed, and put the rest in an investment fund. You should be thanking me for making your money grow, instead of leaving it sitting in some ridiculous savings account. You stole from me! Did I steal? Amanda laughed, a cruel laugh Ricardo had. Never heard. Dad, wake up to reality. You're a janitor. You clean shit for a living. Do you really think you know how to manage money better than me, who studied business administration at a real university? That money was wasted on you. Tears began to roll down Ricardo's wrinkled face. Amanda, how could you say that? I worked 3 jobs. I went hungry. I wore torn clothes, all for you. And I didn't ask for any of this, she yelled back. You chose to be a pathetic martyr. That doesn't make me eternally indebted. Get over it, Dad. The money is mine now. It's in my name, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then she slammed the door in his face. A question that generates anger. Seriously? She called her own father a pathetic martyr? What kind of monster does that? Did that make you angry too? Ricardo didn't sleep that night, nor the next. He lay on the thin mattress in his simple house, staring at the cracked ceiling, trying to understand where he had gone wrong. Where had the sweet girl he had raised transformed into that monster? He tried to sue Amanda. He went to 3 different law firms in Guadalajara. But the answer was always the same. Technically, Amanda had legal access to the transfer because Ricardo had given her the passwords. It was his word against hers. A lawsuit would be long, expensive, and the chances of recovering the money were minimal. Ricardo didn't have money for lawyers. He returned to work heartbroken, but now people noticed something different about him. His eyes, once always kind and bright, were empty. His hands trembled as he cleaned. He had aged 10 years in 2 weeks, but the worst was yet to come. 3 weeks after the robbery, it was the birthday of Amanda's maternal grandmother, Donna Guadalupe, 82 years old. The family matriarch organized a large family lunch every year at her home in the Santa Terre neighborhood. Ricardo usually didn't go because Amanda always made excuses for him not to show up. Grandma is tired. There won't be many people. You should rest, Dad. But this time, Donna Guadalupe had personally called Ricardo and insisted that he go. Richard couldn't refuse the lady who had always been kind to him. When Ricardo arrived at Donna Guadalupe's house that sunny Sunday, he found about 20 relatives gathered in the backyard, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews. And there was Amanda, dazzling in an expensive dress, laughing loudly, holding a glass of wine, surrounded by cousins who were praising her. "Look who's here," announced Uncle Javier, Sophia's older brother. "Our dear Ricardo!" Some greeted Ricardo politely, others simply nodded. But he noticed something. Amanda didn't look at him. Not once. Ricardo stood in a corner, eating tacos and trying to be invisible as he always was. But then, during dessert, it happened. Uncle Javier, already a bit drunk on tequila, started talking loudly. "Amanda, girl, look at you, all dressed up in that expensive dress with that new car I saw in front of the house. You're earning well at that company, huh?" Amanda smiled with feigned modesty. "Oh, Uncle, I try hard. I work hard." "Working hard?" Ricardo's voice came out before he could control himself. Everyone turned to look at him. "Amanda, do you want to tell them where the money for your new car came from?" The backyard fell into absolute silence. Amanda stiffened, her eyes gleaming with anger. "Dad, don't start. Don't start. You stole $200,000. From me." Collective gasps echoed through the backyard. $200,000, Uncle Javier repeated, incredulous. "Ricardo, you don't even... you're a janitor." And then Amanda laughed, a loud, mocking laugh, full of venom. That's exactly it, Uncle Javier. My father is deluding. He thinks he made $200,000 cleaning toilets. She looked at Ricardo with utter contempt. Dad, you're pathetic. You're making up this ridiculous story because you can't accept that your daughter is more successful than you. You've always been a poor old man, and you'll die a poor old man. Amanda! Donna Guadalupe stood up, horrified. But Amanda didn't stop. She was out of control now, years of repressed shame exploding all at once. Do you know how many times I had to lie about what my father did? How many times did I say he was a businessman or was traveling when my friends asked? I'm ashamed of him. I always have been. He would show up at my school with his dirty clothes, his calloused hands, and everyone would laugh at me. Tears streamed down Ricardo's face. Not tears of sadness, but of something worse, utter humiliation. In front of the entire family he considered his own. You were never worth anything. Amanda spat the words like venom. And this money you say you saved? If you really saved anything, it's the least you could do after embarrassing me my whole life. This money is mine, you useless old man. And then she threw the rest of the wine in his face and stormed out, leaving Ricardo there, soaked, broken, and devastated in front of everyone. Ricardo left that birthday party like a ghost. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. He simply walked through the streets of Santa Terre as the sun set over Guadalajara, the city lights beginning to flicker one by one, indifferent to the pain that consumed his chest. That night, for the first time in 30 years, Ricardo Martinez thought about giving up on everything. He sat on the edge of his bed, looking at the yellowed photo on his bedside table, a picture of him with Sofia and little 5-year-old Amanda in Colomos Woods. Everyone smiling, a happy family, a life that seemed to have happened 100 years ago. Sofia, he whispered to the photo, I failed. I created a monster. But then his eyes fell on something he hadn't opened in decades. An old shoebox at the back of his wardrobe. A box that held the secrets of a life Ricardo Martinez had buried long ago. With trembling hands, he opened the box. Inside were old papers, yellowed documents, faded photographs. And there he was, a different man. A 25-year-old Ricardo wearing a suit, holding a university diploma, smiling alongside well-dressed classmates. Because Ricardo Martinez hadn't always been a caretaker. 33 years ago, Ricardo was a promising civil engineer, recently graduated from the University of Guadalajara. He had graduated with honors, landed an excellent job at a prestigious construction company, and was engaged to Sofia, the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. The future looked bright. But then the accident happened. Ricardo was supervising the construction of a residential building in Zapopan when a structural flaw, a flaw he had warned existed but which his boss ignored to save money, caused the partial collapse of a floor. 3 workers died, 5 others were seriously injured. The construction company, in order to protect its executives, placed all the blame on Ricardo. They falsified documents, they bribed witnesses, they portrayed Ricardo as the negligent engineer who cut costs and caused the disaster. Ricardo lost everything. His professional license was revoked. He was barred from working as an engineer anywhere in Mexico. He was sued by the victims' families, lawsuits that drained his entire savings. Local newspapers crucified him. His name became synonymous with incompetence and death. Sofia stayed by his side. She never doubted him. I know who you are, Ricardo. I don't care if the whole world turns its back on you. I believe in you. They got married anyway, and when no company wanted to hire him, when even the stores refused to employ the murderous engineer, Ricardo accepted the only job he could find, janitor. And he never complained, he never lamented. He had Sofia and, a year later, Amanda. That was all that mattered. But there was something Ricardo had never told anyone. something he only discovered 3 years after the accident, and which he kept as a deadly secret because, at the time, with a baby to raise and no money for lawyers, it seemed pointless. He had proof that he was innocent. In the shoebox, along with his diplomas and old photos, there was a flash drive. A flash drive that Ricardo had obtained through a former co-worker who regretted lying. On it were internal emails from the construction company, acknowledging the structural flaw before the accident, direct orders from the company president to go ahead despite the risks, and audio recordings of meetings where executives planned how to shift the blame onto Ricardo. Evidence that, if presented at the time, would have destroyed the construction company and proven Ricardo's innocence. But why did he never use it? Because the president of the construction company at that time was a powerful man with connections in the government, the police, and the judiciary. A man who directly threatened Ricardo. If you open your mouth, I guarantee your wife and daughter will disappear. You'll lose more than your job. You'll lose your family. Ricardo had chosen silence. He chose to protect Sophia and Amanda instead of clearing his name. But now Sophia was dead, and Amanda had betrayed him in the cruelest way possible. Ricardo Martinez had nothing left to lose, and he had all the tricks up his sleeve. A question that generates anger. So the poor old man that Amanda despised is actually a wronged engineer who sacrificed everything for his family? Do you think Amanda deserves to know the truth? For 3 days, Ricardo didn't go to work. He called in, claiming to be sick, which wasn't a lie. He was sick with anger, with pain, with injustice, but mostly he was busy. Sitting at his old wooden desk with the vintage laptop he had bought second-hand years ago, Ricardo began to research. And the more he discovered, the more perfectly the pieces of the puzzle fit together. The construction company that had destroyed it, Edificaciones del Pacifico S.A., still existed, and it was still rotten to the core. Through research in online newspapers and public court cases, Ricardo discovered that the company had continued with illegal practices for decades. More buildings with structural problems, more bribes to inspectors, more lives put at risk in the name of profit. And the president at the time, Don Rodrigo Salazar, now 71 years old, had retired as one of the richest men in Jalisco, living in a mansion in Chapala, while families still suffered the consequences of his criminal decisions. But something even more interesting emerged from Ricardo's research. Don Rodrigo had a grandson who, ironically, now worked as a civil engineer. And this grandson had recently given interviews to specialized magazines, talking about ethics in engineering and professional responsibility. The hypocrisy made Ricardo laugh bitterly. But the real revelation came when Ricardo began researching the company where Amanda worked. Out of curiosity, he wanted to know how much she really earned, whether the success she boasted about was real or built with his stolen money. And then he discovered the digital marketing company where Amanda worked, Agencia Creativa Narvarte, had as one of its main clients, Edificaciones del Pacifico S.A., the same construction company that had destroyed Ricardo. The gears began to turn in Ricardo's mind. Destiny, coincidence, or an opportunity sent by the universe? Ricardo spent the entire night putting together a plan, a meticulous plan, a plan that would require patience, perfect timing, and courage he wasn't sure if he still possessed. But one thing was clear: if he was going to do it, he was going to do it right. First step, he needed help. And there was one person he hadn't seen in years, but whom he knew he could trust: Miguel Angel Torres, his former engineering colleague who had been the source of the flash drive containing the evidence. Miguel had Left the construction company years ago, consumed by guilt for having betrayed Ricardo initially. He now worked as an independent consultant. Ricardo took a bus to Miguel's modest office in downtown Guadalajara. When Miguel opened the door and saw Ricardo standing there, his eyes instantly filled with tears. "Ricardo, brother, I feel so sorry." "I know," Ricardo interrupted him gently, "and I forgive you, but now I need your help. The time has finally come to reveal the truth." Miguel listened to the whole story, about Amanda, about the robbery, about the humiliation, about the plan. And when Ricardo finished, Miguel had his fists clenched, trembling with rage. "That daughter of yours, forgive me for saying this, Ricardo, but that girl needs to learn a lesson." "And she will learn," Ricardo said calmly. "But it's not just about her. It's about justice. It's about all the families who suffered because of those men. It's about finally doing the right thing." Miguel extended his hand. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to use your contacts in the construction industry. I need to reach someone specific. And I need you to help me modernize this evidence, to create a professional dossier that no judge or journalist can ignore." Miguel nodded. "Consider it done. But Ricardo, are you sure about this? Once you start, there's no going back. These people are powerful, dangerous." Ricardo thought of Amanda throwing wine in his face, of her cruel words, of 30 years of sacrifice spat back in his face. "I have nothing left to lose, Miguel, and they need to pay, all of them." And for the first time in weeks, Ricardo Martinez smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had finally found a purpose after living in the shadows for 3 decades. The invisible caretaker was about to become impossible to ignore. The following 2 weeks were the most intense of Ricardo's life since the accident that had destroyed his career. With Miguel's help, he began to assemble a complete dossier, not only with the old evidence from the pen drive, but with new evidence of Edificaciones del Pacifico's ongoing illegal practices. Miguel used his industry contacts to obtain safety reports on buildings constructed by the company over the past decade. What they discovered was shocking. 7 buildings with serious structural problems that had been deliberately concealed. Hundreds of families living in buildings that could collapse at any moment. But Ricardo knew he needed more than proof. He needed a megaphone. He needed someone who could make the world hear. And that's when he remembered Fernanda Reyes. Fernanda was an investigative journalist for Milenio, one of Mexico's largest newspapers. 10 years ago, she had tried to do a story on Edificaciones del Pacifico, but she didn't have enough evidence, and the company sued her for defamation. Fernanda lost the case and was forced to pay a hefty settlement, nearly destroying her career. Since then, she has harbored a deadly hatred for the construction company. Ricardo sent an anonymous email to Fernanda. "I have irrefutable proof that Edificaciones del Pacifico is criminal. Proof of 30 years of corruption, fraud, and negligence that cost lives. Interested?" The reply came in less than 2 hours. "Tell me when and where." They met at a discreet coffee shop in Tlaquepaque. Fernanda was a 45-year-old woman with short hair and sharp eyes, the kind that suggested she had seen a lot. When Ricardo placed the flash drive and documents on the table, her hands trembled. This is gold," she whispered, flipping through the pages. "This isn't just a story. This is a bomb. This is going to blow up the whole company. And it will clear my name in the process," Ricardo said calmly. Fernanda looked at him with newfound respect. "You're the engineer from the '92 accident. I remember the case. You were crucified. Unfairly. I know. I always knew there was something wrong with that story, but I had no way to prove it," she smiled. "Now I do. But Ricardo, you need to be prepared. When this story blows up, it's going to be chaos. The media will be all over you. They'll want interviews, testimonials. Your life will be turned upside down. My life is already upside down, Ricardo replied. I have nothing left to lose, but they do. And it's time for them to pay. Fernanda held out her hand. Let's destroy these sons of bitches together. Meanwhile, completely oblivious to the storm brewing, Amanda was living her best life. With the stolen $200,000, she had invested in stocks, bought a 2023 Honda Civic, completely renovated her apartment, and was planning a vacation in Cancun. At work, she was being considered for a promotion. The head of Agencia Creativa Narvarte, impressed by her dedication, which was actually a result of no longer having to worry about money, was thinking of making her the account manager for Edificaciones del Pacifico, his biggest client. Amanda no longer thought about her father. In fact, she had blocked his number. When her aunts called, worried about Ricardo after the scene at her grandmother's birthday party, Amanda would say, "He's having mental problems. He's becoming senile. It's sad, but I can't let him drag me down." She had even convinced herself that she was the victim in the story. But then, on a typical Thursday afternoon, Amanda was in a meeting with Don Felipe Salazar, Don Rodrigo's grandson and representative of Edificaciones del Pacifico, discussing the company's new marketing campaign. "We want to promote our image as an ethical, responsible construction company with family values," Don Felipe explained, smiling his perfect corporate smile. Amanda took notes, professional and focused. "We could make a series of videos showing the company's history, interviews with former employees, maybe a social media campaign about..." That's when her cell phone vibrated. A news notification from Milenio. She usually ignored them, but the headline made her freeze. Constructora Edificaciones del Pacifico, 30 years of fraud, corruption, and covered-up deaths, exclusive evidence. Amanda's blood ran cold. A question that generates anger. Amanda is so busy spending the stolen money that she has no idea what's coming next. Do you think she deserves what's about to happen? Fernanda Reyes's story wasn't just published. It exploded across the Mexican internet like an unstoppable virus. The headline was everywhere. On Twitter, on Facebook, on WhatsApp. Within hours, it had millions of views. Television news programs picked up the story. Journalists from other media outlets began investigating on their own. It was a national scandal. The story had it all. Incriminating emails, audio recordings, forged documents, testimonies from former employees who finally had the courage to speak. And at the center of it all was the story of Ricardo Martinez, the upright engineer who was destroyed for refusing to be an accomplice to crimes, who lost everything to protect his family, and who spent 30 years as a caretaker while the real criminals lived in mansions and luxury. Social media was buzzing with outrage. An honest man paid for the crimes of others for 30 years. Justice for Ricardo. Meanwhile, the Salazars lived like kings with blood on their hands. Jail them. Ricardo Martinez is a hero. He sacrificed everything for the truth. Inside the Narvarte Creative Agency office, there was total chaos. Don Felipe Salazar had rushed out of the meeting as soon as his cell phone started ringing off the hook. The agency CEO entered the meeting room, his face red with panic. Edificaciones cancelled the contract. They are cancelling everything. This account represented 40% of our revenue. We are screwed. Amanda was pale, reading the article on her phone with trembling hands. And then she saw the part that made her heart stop. Ricardo Martinez, 58 years old, currently works as a caretaker to support his only daughter, who is unaware of her father's true story and the true character of the man who sacrificed not only his career, but his dignity to protect her. No, 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 no. Her father couldn't be that man from the story, the hero engineer, the upright man that all of Mexico was applauding. She had called him a poor, useless old man. She had said she was ashamed of him. She had stolen his money, and she had done all of this in front of the entire family. Her phone started ringing. It was Aunt Monica. She didn't answer. A call from her cousin Daniela. She declined. A message from Grandma Guadalupe. Amanda, did you see the news? Your father is a hero. We need to go to him now and ask for forgiveness. Forgiveness. Amanda felt the world spinning. She ran to the office bathroom and vomited. Meanwhile, at Ricardo's simple house in Tlaquepaque, there was a constant parade of journalists, neighbors and strangers wanting to shake hands with the man who refused to bow to corruption. TV cameras were in front of his house. Reporters shouted questions. Mr. Martinez, how does it feel to finally be recognized? Are you going to sue the Salazars? Is it true that your daughter knew nothing about this? Ricardo, dressed in his simple but clean clothes, answered with dignity and calm, qualities that 30 years of humility had perfected in him. I didn't do this for recognition. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Those families who lost their loved ones 30 years ago deserved justice. The families who live in unsafe buildings today deserve to know the truth. And what about your daughter, sir? The rumors that there was a family fight? Ricardo took a deep breath. The question he knew was coming. The question he had prepared the answer to. My daughter is dealing with her own issues. I just hope she learns that in life, a person's character isn't measured by diplomas or money, but by their actions when no one is watching. The phrase went viral. In minutes, and in her apartment, watching her father's interview on TV with tears streaming down her face, Amanda Sofia Martinez Ruiz realized something devastating. She had become exactly like the Salazars. Greedy, cruel, willing to step on anyone to get what she wanted. She had become the kind of person her father had refused to be, even when it cost her everything, and now the whole of Mexico knew about it. Amanda's fall was as swift as it was brutal. On Friday morning, she was summoned to the office of the CEO of Agencia Creativa Narvarte. She knew what was coming. She had spent the entire night sleepless, watching her name being dragged through the mud on social media, because, of course, people found out. A distant cousin, outraged by what Amanda had done, had posted a complete account on Facebook of Grandma Guadalupe's birthday party, how Amanda had stolen $200,000 from her father, how she had publicly humiliated him, how she had thrown wine in his face and called him a useless old man. The post went viral instantly. Ricardo Martinez's ungrateful daughter, how Amanda robbed and humiliated the national hero. The comments were merciless. What a disgusting human being. The father sacrificed everything and she stole from him. She deserves to be in jail. Give the money back to Ricardo. Amanda Martinez is a shame to Mexico. Judge jail for Amanda. Someone found her Instagram account, which was full of photos from expensive restaurants, trips and luxury shopping. Sprays, posts she had made in the last few weeks using money stolen from her father while he was probably eating tortillas and beans alone. The public outcry was devastating. Amanda entered the CEO's office with her head down. "Sit down," said Mr. Dominguez, the CEO, coldly. He didn't offer coffee, he didn't smile. "Amanda, you need to understand the company's situation. We lost our biggest client. Edificaciones was responsible for 40% of our revenue. We are considering mass layoffs." "I understand, sir, and I'm not finished," he interrupted her. "But more than that, you've become a public relations problem. Your name is associated with ours. Clients have already called asking if we employ that girl who stole her hero father. Our image is compromised. Amanda felt the ground disappear from beneath her feet. You're fired, Amanda. Effective immediately. Your belongings are already packed in boxes. Security will escort you out. But, sir, and one more thing, he said, standing up and looking at her with disdain. I read the whole article. I saw the pictures of your father, a 58-year-old man with hands ruined from working so hard, wearing patched clothes, all to give you a better life. And you spit in his face. You're a terrible person, Amanda, and I have children. I don't want people like you near my business. Amanda left the building carrying a box with her personal belongings, escorted by security, while former colleagues whispered and pointed. The Tiku. Longest walk of shame of her life. But that was only the beginning. When she arrived at the apartment, there was an eviction notice on the door. The landlord, who had also seen the news, was exercising a clause in the contract that allowed termination in case of conduct that harmed the reputation of the building. She had 30 days to leave. Her friends stopped responding to messages. Her boyfriend, a businessman she had recently started dating, broke up with her via text message. I don't want to be associated with this. Sorry. And then came the final blow. A letter from a law firm. Ricardo was suing her to recover the $200,000. And with all the media attention on the case, the lawyer working pro bono and the public outrage, Amanda knew she didn't stand a chance. She would have to return every penny, every damn penny. The car would have to be sold, the apartment emptied, the stocks liquidated, the designer clothes, the jewelry, the expensive shoes, everything would have to go. And even then, it probably wouldn't be enough to cover the total value plus interest and legal fees. Amanda sat on the floor of the empty apartment, surrounded by boxes. And finally, reality hit her like a ton of bricks. She had destroyed her own life, and all because she had been too arrogant, greedy, and cruel to see the value of the man who had given everything for her. A question that generates anger, fired, evicted, abandoned by everyone. But is that enough after what she did to her father? What do you think? 2 weeks had passed since Amanda's life fell apart. 2 weeks of hell. She had sold her car at a loss, liquidated her stocks, pawned her jewelry. He returned everything he could. She managed to scrape together $156,000. She was still $44,000 short, but it was all she had. She was temporarily living with her cousin Daniela, who took pity on her, but made it very clear that it was temporary. Amanda desperately sent out resumes, but no one would hire her. Her name was tarnished in the job market. Amanda Martinez, the ungrateful daughter, wouldn't even get a job as a receptionist. She had gone from a promising executive to absolutely nothing in 2 weeks, and all this time she hadn't had the courage to call her father. What would she say? I'm sorry for stealing your money, humiliating you, and calling you useless. The words seemed small, pathetic, insufficient for the magnitude of what she had done. But then came the letter from the lawyer. A conciliation hearing had been scheduled. Amanda would have to appear in court and face Ricardo face to face. The day of the hearing was the longest day of Amanda's life. She woke up at 5 a.m., unable to sleep, her stomach churning with anxiety. She put on the simplest clothes she had, jeans and a white blouse. No elaborate makeup, no expensive accessories. She looked ordinary, normal, for the first time in years. When she entered the conciliation room at the Guadalajara courthouse, her heart nearly stopped. There he was, Ricardo Martinez, his father, but he seemed different. He had bought new clothes, nothing fancy but clean and decent. His hair was cut. He had gained a little weight. Neighbors and charities had been bringing him food constantly since he became the national hero. And his eyes had a firmness that Amanda had never seen before. He was no longer the shameful, poor old man she despised. He was Ricardo Martinez, a civil engineer, a man of principle, someone whom all of Mexico respected. "Dad." Amanda's voice came out as a broken whisper. Ricardo didn't answer. He just nodded, politely but distantly. The forum mediator explained the terms. Amanda would return $156,000 immediately and sign a debt acknowledgement document for the remaining $44,000 to be paid in monthly installments once she found employment. Ricardo would have the right to charge interest if she failed to comply. "Does Ms. Martinez agree to the terms?" the mediator asked. "Yes," Amanda whispered, signing the papers with trembling hands. When it was over, the mediator left the room to process the documents, leaving father and daughter alone for the first time since that terrible day at the grandmother's birthday party. The silence was deafening. Finally, Amanda gathered all the courage she had and looked at her father. Tears were already streaming down her face. "Dad, I have no words. I can't. There are no excuses for what I did. I was monstrous. I was cruel. I was everything wrong a human being can be." Ricardo remained silent, simply staring at her. "I've spent the last few weeks trying to understand how I became this person. How could I have been so blind, so ungrateful, so disgusting? And you know what's worse? You gave me everything, and I spat in your face, literally." More tears. She was sobbing now. "I deserve the hate I'm receiving. I deserve to have lost everything. I deserve every horrible comment, every insult, every..." A door slammed in my face, "because all of that is nothing compared to what I did to you." Ricardo finally spoke, his voice low and calm. "Why did you do this, Amanda?" The question hit her like a punch in the stomach. I don't know. I think I've always been ashamed of my background, ashamed of being the daughter of a janitor, ashamed of not being rich like my friends. And I wanted so much to be someone different, someone important, that I became exactly the kind of person you always taught me not to be. Ricardo nodded slowly. "Do you remember what your mother used to say?" Amanda swallowed hard. That character is the only treasure that no one can steal from you." "Exactly. And Amanda, you gave away your character for free. Nobody stole it from you. You simply threw it away." Ricardo's words cut Amanda more deeply than any insult on social media, because they were true, pure and simple truth. "When your mother died," Ricardo continued, his voice still calm but heavy with emotion, "I promised her that I would make you a good woman, not a rich woman, not a famous woman, a good woman, with values, with compassion, with gratitude." He paused, looking out the window of the conciliation room. "I failed at this, and that failure hurts more than anything you've ever done to me." "No!" Amanda exploded. "No, Dad! You didn't fail. I failed. You gave me all the right examples. You showed me what sacrifice is, what love is, what integrity is. But I chose to ignore all of that. I chose superficial values. I chose the wrong path. So why did you choose this path?" The question hung in the air. Amanda didn't have an easy answer. She had thought about it a lot in the last few weeks. Why had she become so cruel? Why had she despised the father who had given her everything? "I think," she began slowly, "it was because it was easier. It was easier to be angry at you for not giving me a life of luxury than to be grateful for what you gave me. It was easier to blame you for my shame than to accept where I came from. It was easier to see you as an obstacle than as an example." She wiped away her tears. "And when I saw all that money in your account, I became convinced that it was mine by right. that you owed me for all the years I spent suffering for being the daughter of a janitor, as if having food on the table, clothes on my back, a quality education, and a father who loved me meant nothing. Ricardo nodded. And now? What do you think? Now? Now I think I was a spoiled brat who didn't know the value of anything, who confused luxury with love, who thought social status meant something, who threw away the only thing that really mattered, the relationship with you, for money. There was a long silence. Finally, Ricardo stood up. For a moment, Amanda thought he was going to leave without saying anything else. But then he did something she didn't expect. He reached out and gently placed his hand on her head, just as he used to do when she was a child. Amanda, I want you to learn something from this. And it's not about money. It's not about public shame. It's about who you want to be from now on. He lowered himself until he was at her eye level. You're 29 years old. You're intelligent, capable, educated. You can rebuild your life, but you have to choose. Will you rebuild as Amanda, the janitor's daughter, who finally understood the value of real things? Or as Amanda, the victim, who will blame the whole world for her own choices? I want to be better, Amanda whispered. I want to be worthy of being your daughter. Then be, Ricardo said simply, but understand, I will forgive you, eventually, because I am your father, and a father's love knows no bounds. But to regain my respect, that will require more than apologies. It will require action. It will require you to prove, day after day, that you have learned your lesson. I'm going to prove it, Amanda said with conviction. I don't know how. I don't know how long it will take, but I will prove it. I hope so, Ricardo said, standing up, because I would very much like to one day be proud to call you my daughter again. And with those words, he left the room. Amanda stood there, alone, but for the first time in weeks she felt something beyond despair. She felt determination. She had destroyed everything, but she was going to rebuild. Not for Mexico, not for social media, but for herself, and for the man who deserved to have a better daughter. A question that generates anger. Ricardo is giving Amanda a chance to prove her worth. But after everything she's done, do you think she deserves this chance? The following months were the most difficult of Amanda's life, and that was intentional. She wasn't looking for the easy way out. She was looking for the right way. Without a job in marketing, without money, without a reputation, Amanda needed to start from scratch, from absolutely zero. And she made a decision that shocked her entire family. She got a job as a cleaning lady, not as a manager, not in some entry-level corporate position where she could use her degree, but as a cleaner in a public hospital in Guadalajara, earning minimum wage, cleaning hallways, emptying trash, washing toilets. Exactly the kind of work she'd spent her entire life despising. Exactly the type of work your father did for 30 years. When her cousin Daniela found out, she was horrified. Amanda, you have a university degree. Why are you doing this? Because I need to understand, Amanda replied simply. I need to understand what my father went through. I need to feel firsthand the humiliation of being invisible, of being treated as if you don't exist. And she felt it. God, how she felt it. Doctors would walk past her without a good morning. Nurses would talk about her as if she weren't there. This area is dirty, call the cleaning lady. As if she didn't have a name, as if she were just a function. Her hands, once perfectly manicured, were now rough and cracked from cleaning products. Her back ached from scrubbing floors so much. Her feet were swollen from standing for 8 hours a day. But the worst part wasn't the physical work. It was contempt. One day, she was cleaning a hallway bathroom when she overheard 2 young nurses talking. Guys, did you see? That new cleaning lady is Amanda Martinez, The one who stole from her father. Seriously? That one? Wow, how did she fall? Well deserved. Imagine doing that to your own father. Monstrous. Amanda, on the other side of the door, bit her lip until it bled to keep from crying. Because they were right. It was deserved. She had no right to be offended, but the humiliation still hurt. Every night, Amanda would return to the tiny room she rented in a cheap boarding house, using the little money she had left after returning almost everything to her father, take off the cheap shoes that hurt her feet, and cry. But then she remembered. This was what her father had felt for 30 years, and he had never complained. He had never given up. I had never thrown in the towel. If he could do it, she could too. Amanda began paying off her father's $44,000 debt, $300 a month, which represented almost half her salary. She ate tortillas with beans. She walked everywhere to save on transportation. She hadn't bought a new piece of clothing in months. She lived on the bare minimum. And for the first time in her life, Amanda understood what sacrifice meant. 6 months passed like that. No glamour, no Instagram, no attention, just hard work, forced humility, and a life lesson she had to learn the hard way. One day, after work, exhausted and sweaty, Amanda saw a scene that made her stop and stop. In the hospital waiting room, an elderly father lay asleep in an uncomfortable chair. His clothes were simple, his hands calloused from manual labor. Beside him, a young woman, likely his daughter, was being discharged. When she saw her father sleeping, she gently covered him with her own jacket, kissed his forehead and whispered, "Thank you for everything, Dad." The father woke up, smiled, and said, "Anything for you, my daughter." Amanda had to run to the bathroom and cry, because that was the kind of relationship she had, and that she had destroyed out of greed and shame. But that night, Amanda made a decision. She was going to win it back. No matter how long it took, no matter how difficult it was, she was going to prove to her father that he hadn't created a monster. He had raised a daughter who made terrible mistakes, but who was capable of learning, of changing, of becoming better. A year has passed since that fateful day when Amanda's life imploded. A year of hard work, daily humiliation, and painful growth. And slowly, very slowly, things began to change. First, her boss at the hospital, Don Ernesto, a 60-year-old cleaning supervisor who had been a janitor his whole life, noticed something different about Amanda. "You know," he said one day while training Amanda in a new cleaning technique, "most college-educated people who end up here become bitter. They get angry at the world. They do shoddy work because they think they deserve better." He looked at Amanda with genuine respect. "But you work as if every clean corner matters, as if every bathroom is a work of art. I admire that." Amanda felt tears burning her eyes. "Thank you, Don Ernesto. It means a lot coming from you. Why do you do this?" he asked. "Why do you put so much effort into a job that pays so little?" Amanda took a deep breath. "Because my father did this for 30 years, and I've spent my whole life despising him for it. I'm trying to understand, honor, make amends." Don Ernesto nodded, understanding. "You're Ricardo Martinez's daughter, aren't you? The engineer who was on TV?" "Yes," Amanda whispered, expecting disdain. But Don Ernesto smiled gently. "Your father is a good man, a real man. If you are half the human being he is, you'll be fine, girl." It was the first genuinely kind thing someone outside the family had said to Amanda in a year. Meanwhile, Ricardo was also rebuilding his life, but in a way he had never imagined. With his reputation cleansed, the Mexican Order of Civil Engineers had restored his professional license. Ethical construction companies contacted him offering work. Universities wanted him to give lectures on ethics in engineering. And something completely unexpected happened. A group of investors, impressed by his story, offered Ricardo capital to open his own engineering consulting firm, specializing in structural safety audits. At age 59, Ricardo Martinez became a businessman. But he didn't forget where he came from. He hired former janitors who wanted to change careers, provided training, and paid for continuing education. He created a company based on the values he has always held: integrity, fairness, and opportunities for those discarded by society. And he never, not for a second, stopped thinking about Amanda. Through his cousin Daniela, he heard updates that Amanda was working hard, that she was paying off her debt religiously, that she had changed. But Ricardo needed to see for himself. On a rainy November afternoon, Ricardo went to the civil hospital. He asked for Amanda and was directed to the 3rd floor, where she was cleaning the hallways. When Amanda looked up and saw her father standing there, her heart stopped. She was sweaty, wearing a cleaning uniform, her hair tied in a simple ponytail without makeup. Her hands held a mop. She was the perfect image of humility. "Dad," she whispered, dropping the mop. Ricardo looked at her, really looked, and saw something he hadn't seen in years. His daughter, not the arrogant and cruel Amanda, but the Amanda he had raised, the girl with the potential to be good. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Immediate tears. Yes, I am. I'm learning. I'm trying to be better." Ricardo nodded. "I heard, and I came to tell you I'm proud of you." Amanda broke down. Right there in the hospital hallway, she fell to her knees and wept. Years of guilt, shame, and regret washed away all at once. Ricardo knelt beside her and, for the first time in over a year, hugged his daughter. "You've made terrible mistakes," he whispered, "but you're doing the hardest thing there is. You're changing. You're learning. You're becoming the woman your mother wanted you to be." "I'm so sorry, Dad. So sorry. I know. And I forgive you." 2 years have passed since the day everything changed. 2 years of growth, forgiveness, and transformation. The construction company Edificaciones del Pacifico was destroyed. Don Rodrigo Salazar and other executives were arrested for fraud, corruption, and manslaughter. The families of the victims of the accident 30 years ago finally received justice and financial compensation. Unsafe buildings were renovated or demolished. Ricardo Martinez, now 61, saw his consulting firm thrive. He wasn't rich, but he was respected, fulfilled, and above all, at peace. And Amanda? Amanda paid off every cent of her debt to her father. It took 2 years' salary as a cleaning lady, plus odd jobs she did on weekends, but she paid it all. But more importantly, she finished paying off a debt that had no monetary value. The moral debt to the man who had given everything for her. With Don Ernesto's enthusiastic recommendation, Amanda got a promotion at the hospital, not to administration, she wasn't ready for that, but to cleaning coordinator. She now trained other cleaners, taught them techniques, and most importantly, treated each of them with the respect her father never received in those 30 years. One day, Ricardo called Amanda with an unexpected proposal. "My company is growing. I need someone to manage operations, someone who understands humility, hard work, and the value of each employee. Someone who won't step on people to get ahead. I'm offering you the position." Amanda remained silent for a long moment. "Dad, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, but I need to finish what I started here at the hospital. Don Ernesto is training me to take over the entire department when he retires next year. I can't abandon him." On the other end of the line, Ricardo smiled. This was the answer he had been hoping for. This was the Amanda he had always wanted her to be. "Then when you're ready," he said proudly, "the door will be open." On the 3rd anniversary of the explosion of truth, as Mexico called the Edificaciones scandal, a TV network invited Ricardo and Amanda for a special interview. An interview about forgiveness, redemption, and second chances. Sitting side by side in the studio, father and daughter told their story, unfiltered, without hiding Amanda's mistakes, without romanticizing her transformation. "Amanda," the presenter asked, "do you have a message for other people who might be making the same mistakes you made?" Amanda looked directly at the camera, her eyes clear and honest. "I have it. Social status means nothing. Money doesn't define your worth, and the people you step on to climb the ladder of success are the same people you'll need when you fall. Respect those who love you. Honor those who sacrifice for you, because when you lose those people, you lose everything that truly matters." She took her father's hand. "My father forgave me for something unforgivable. He gave me a second chance that I didn't deserve. And every day, I wake up trying to be worthy of that forgiveness, not for the public, not for social media, but for him and for myself." Ricardo shook her hand back and said to the presenter, "My daughter taught me that it's easier to raise a child than to fix an adult. But she also taught me that it's never too late to change. It's never too late to choose to be better. And that true love, the love of a father, a mother, a family, has no limits as long as the person wants to be loved." The interview went viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments from people sharing their own stories of forgiveness and redemption. And that night, when the cameras went out and the studio emptied, Ricardo and Amanda went to dinner at a simple taqueria, the same kind of place where Ricardo had eaten alone for decades. But this time, he wasn't alone. He was with his daughter, his real daughter, the daughter he always knew she could be. And while they shared tacos and laughed about old stories, they both understood something fundamental. The revenge wasn't about publicly humiliating Amanda. The revenge lay in making her understand. And through this understanding, it was not destroyed. It was reconstructed, better, stronger, more human. And that, my friends, is the most perfect revenge of all, to transform the one who hurt you into someone incapable of hurting you again. What did you think of this story? Ricardo Martinez proved that true revenge isn't about destroying your enemy. It's about making your enemy realize the monster they've become and giving them a chance to change. Did Amanda deserve forgiveness? Did Ricardo do the right thing? Comment below. And if you enjoyed this story of redemption, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the notification bell, because here we tell stories that touch the heart and make you rethink your values. Until next time, and remember, respect your parents,